This one's called. Actually, I like watched the first 30 seconds of this, and they seem really nice. Or it seems like really well made. It's called the only 7 masterpieces ever made.
Nowadays, it feels like basically every game is a masterpiece. Game of the year? Yeah, that's a masterpiece. 10 out of 10 on IGN? Gotta be a masterpiece. Did it make you go, wow, even a single time? Safe to say, it's probably a masterpiece. I'm guilty of this too. I made a PB&J the other day and called it a masterpiece. To be fair, I was right. But when everything is a masterpiece, nothing is. So allow me to overanalyze this imaginary problem by asking a question. If you had to take the thousands of masterpieces we currently have and reduce them down to the lowest possible number, just 7 games, what would those 7 games be? What games would you consider the 7 true masterpieces? Let's get some ground rules out of the way. First off, before you say it, no, this is not just a list of my personal favorite games. That list is on my Patreon, which you can join to help justify spending hundreds of hours on these videos. That's not to say this is some purely objective and perfect list. Believe me, there's plenty of personal bias in here by virtue of me being, well, a human, but I tried to stay as true to my methodology as I could.
True.
This task was
I read the comments and they're like, oh my god, I feel like I'm in a dementia simulator.
Eventually though, I was able to come up with a methodology that feels as close to accurate as I can make it. So let's start there. What exactly is this methodology? How did these games make the list, and what am I prioritizing here? Well, I've done some research on masterpieces and narrowed it down to 7 essential attributes that make a game a true masterpiece. Think of these less like boxes to check and more like a single large bucket to fill. A game doesn't necessarily require all 7 attributes, it just needs enough of them together to add up and collectively reach a certain threshold. Equally, you'll quickly see that they have a lot of overlap. It's next to impossible for a game to max out one of these without inadvertently bleeding into another category. Okay, the attributes are as follows. Attribute 1. Influence. The game needs to have some kind of profound level of influence on the rest of the medium. This is often seen through direct imitation or replication like Genshin Impact to Breath of the Wild or Wild Hearts to Monster Hunter. A true masterpiece should have influence so substantial that magically removing the game from the timeline would dramatically alter what the medium looks like today. Attribute 2. Quality. This is probably the most common use of the term. The game needs to have outstanding quality next to its peers. Simply put, a true masterpiece should be a very, very good game. Attribute 3. Uniqueness or novelty. This is a weird one, but the importance of doing something new and exciting really can't be understated. This is where we'll really start to see these attributes blend together, as oftentimes the most unique games also tend to be some of the most influential if they're successful enough. Attribute 4. Timelessness. A masterpiece shouldn't really age all that much. Sure, tech gets better, that's inevitable, yet a masterpiece from 30 years ago should still be a fun game today. Attribute 5.
I hope
Impact.
so.
While influence is more about copying and taking clear inspiration from something, impact represents some kind of paradigm shift that was directly caused by the release of that game.
A lot of old games I usually try not to play because I hate quality of life. Like I really want to play the old Persona games, but I hate how they move and they're clunky, and then like you try to go through the menu to find a thing and it's like it's not there even though you feel like it should be there, or like something like that. Or like the old Dark Souls games where you had to like climb onto the roof and go down this path, and like that's how you find the next boss. Like, hello? What do you mean you have to go on the roof?
For example, has relatively low influence, but arguably the highest impact of any video game by virtue of being the first. Attribute 6. Universality. Anyone from any background should be able to immediately appreciate why this game is special. It's not just great for JRPG fans or puzzle game fans. It's something that practically anyone who's ever touched a video game can look at and go, yeah, I can see why people would like that. It's sort of like how when I show this image on screen, basically everyone knows I'm about to beg for subs because I want a cool slab of metal. Finally, Attribute 7. Legacy. A game's story, how it was remembered, and how it continues to impact us decades later creates a lasting legacy that only a true masterpiece can have. This is perhaps the most nebulous of all the attributes. Part of that is because if a game has a truly remarkable legacy, it's probably a result of maxing out at least a few of those other categories. With all of that out of the way, let's start with the very first game, the one that stars arguably the most iconic character in gaming. So check this out, the year is 1985, and gaming is, for lack of a better word, cooked, at least in North America. Thanks to a nightmarish combination of studio closures, oversaturation, and a near total lack of quality control, the industry's future was uncertain to say the least. Despite all the doom and gloom though, situations like these often leave the door wide open for a new challenger to approach and shake things up, which is exactly what a friendly plumber was getting ready to do. A company that would become synonymous with gaming was planning their biggest venture yet, one that would catapult them straight to the very top of the industry. The Nintendo Entertainment System. Yet this console wouldn't have done nearly as well if it wasn't for the game spearheading its launch, the first of our 7 true masterpieces, Super Mario Bros. Now, if I may ask you for a moment to consider a question that I promise you is relevant, just give me a chance to explain. I'd like to take a moment to analyze the conventional attractiveness of Mario. Wait, hold on, let me explain. Mario isn't ugly by any means, but he's no Leon S. Kennedy or Samus Aran or Verso or Island Bertelli Major Hulkenberg. He's kinda just a guy. I mean, he's even shorter than his own younger brother, and while he may be the Jumpman, he doesn't exactly look like he's been working out in the same gym as Leon. That's exactly it though. In an article from 2015, the writer Will Parton brings up this brilliant idea that I think is extremely important when discussing the impact of both this game and especially its main character. Mario is just a guy. The average person might struggle to relate to the walking Greek statue that is Leon S. Kennedy, but Mario is short and a little round, a figure that I'd imagine isn't exactly difficult to measure up to.
I feel like we need like just a guy character for women.
Or deep and intricate motivations and goals. He simply wants to get to the castle and save his partner from an evil villain. All of this creates something profoundly significant that would shape one of the most important parts of gaming even 40 years later, an avatar. The original Mario Bros showed us that it's possible to take the player on an adventure where they had a character that acted as their avatar in this world. This idea would be expanded upon in the following decades with iconic heroes like Master Chief. You never see the face behind the mask, perhaps because that face is meant to be your own. What I believe was the greatest strength of this game, however, was its genius game design. The first level has been dissected and analyzed endlessly over the past 40 years, but there's good reason for that. The first Goomba teaches you how to jump, these blocks show you that there's a difference between normal blocks and question blocks. They also teach you that small Mario can't break the blocks, but Super Mario can. This pipe is positioned in such a way that the mushroom will bounce off of it, teaching you the physics of this power-up and giving newer players a chance to grab it without having to chase it down. I could keep going, but you probably get it. This ability to teach the player without tutorials or guidebooks was so innovative and effective that it's still a crucial part of most great games today. For example, Elden Ring doesn't have a tutorial telling you not to fight every boss you encounter, yet it does have a crazy powerful boss right outside of the starting area, along with a safe spot within running distance. This acts like a way to teach the player that if a boss seems too powerful, they can simply run away. That type of game design comes directly from Mario 1. It was breaking the mold and doing things no one had ever thought to do, and for that reason, it's probably the most influential game on this list.
No one thought to
sit here and claim that avatars wouldn't exist. Nobody would have ever figured out invisible tutorials, or even that the entire medium would have fizzled out in the 80s without this one game. And even if that were true, there's no real way to know. What I can tell you, however, is that this one game from close to 50 years ago was so impactful, so world-changing, and so influential that we still clearly see its DNA in games that are released even today. Mario is, at worst, the second or third most iconic character in gaming, and this was his debut title. Nintendo has been one of the largest gaming companies on the planet since the 80s, and still remains a comfortable member of the Big Three. Again, I can't peer into alternate timelines.
Alternate timeline where it was Zelda? No, when it was Link instead of Mario?
Mario 1. Let's rewind about 18 months to find our second masterpiece before we leave the 80s. Of all the games on this list, this is probably the closest to a pure masterpiece. Tetris, much like Mario 1, perfectly encapsulates all 7 of those attributes from the start. Influence is obvious. It spawned the entire falling block puzzle genre, which includes insanely popular mobile games like Candy Crush. And on top of that, it's one of the most timeless games ever made. Despite releasing in 1984, the game was so fundamentally sound that it hasn't really aged a day. While it wasn't the very first video game ever made, its level of complexity and the ceiling for skill in such a simple package rivals games from the modern era. Crucially, that simple package allows it to be understood, appreciated, and enjoyed by practically anyone. My boss at my old job played Tetris, my mom played Tetris, I've played Tetris, and so have you. It's the very definition of universality in gaming. I mean, really think about it. What do you need to play Tetris? First, you need an understanding of gravity, and since no humans have been born in space, as far as we know, congrats, you have that. You need to understand that when you press left, the block goes left, and when you press right, it goes right. Depending on the setup, there may be as few as 3 buttons, so that's not really going to take long to figure out. Finally, you need to know how shapes fit together. That's it. That's literally it. I'm confident that if you went back in time a few hundred years and gave a child a Game Boy with Tetris, they'd be clearing rows in less than 90 seconds. If aliens showed up tomorrow and went, "Show me what a video game is," for some reason, you could safely give them Tetris and they'd probably get it. Most telling of all of this, though, is the fact that despite being created in 1983, nearly the exact same game is still being sold successfully today.
It's him playing.
Fortnite just had a generational run going on over 8 years of global dominance. People have been playing Tetris for over 40. If that's not timeless,
I do love being
I'm
playing
honestly
Tetris.
not sure what else could be. Next, let's move on to one that might be a bit more controversial. However, I think as we delve deeper into this game, you'll start to see just how monumental it was, and really still is. If you were born between here and here, I'm willing to bet that one of the first video games you ever played was the first generation of Pokemon, Red and Blue. If Mario
Guys,
showed
I
what
haven't
video
played
games
these
themselves were
games. Am I
capable of,
missing
Pokemon
out?
demonstrated this medium's ability
I
to
haven't
expand
played
far beyond
Mario.
its home in the digital
I haven't
world.
played
The games were novel
Pokemon.
and revolutionary in their own right, being the grandfather of the monster
Yes.
catcher genre. While not technically the very first,
Yeah,
it
there's
was
something
the
wrong
one
with
that
me.
made monster catchers mainstream. The first generation
That's
was
probably
also
it.
the
That's
very
probably what I
beginning
missed
of
from
one
my
of the
childhood.
largest series in gaming. It influenced endless copycats and developers trying to improve upon that original
Fossil
formula.
fighters?
And
Oh my
yet, if
god.
all Pokemon had going for it was a solid RPG from the 90s, it wouldn't be on this list. In fact, while Red and Blue were revolutionary at the time, you'd be crazy to look at the decades of monster catchers we've gotten since and claim
You
that
can play
not a
them easily
single
these
one
days?
accomplished
No,
what
but
Pokemon did
the
at a
old
higher
games
level.
have
What
bad
makes
quality
these
of
games
life.
truly special is that they were the origin point of the largest media franchise in history. Plushies, card games, TV series, movies, endless merchandise. There are real-life Pokemon centers dedicated to these games and their countless characters. Red and
Wait,
Blue
guys,
were so
I have a
impactful,
Pokemon
so
plushie.
culturally significant that they had and
His
still
name
do
is,
have a clear effect on the real world. Think about it like this. If there's a form
It's
of media
cinema
or
roll.
entertainment that you want to consume, or even simply a thing you wish to buy, you can probably do so with Pokemon. All of this came from that first generation. These games proved that if you create a game that's good enough and you market it in the right way, you aren't limited to a console. You can grow your empire anywhere. And Pokemon chose to grow it everywhere, making Red and Blue. Gold and Silver then took those lessons learned from Red and Blue and made all of the natural improvements to refine these games even further. A second region, twice as many gyms, better quality of life, even more Pokemon, and arguably the most iconic super boss in RPG history.
Oh yeah,
In practically every way,
enemy.
Gold and Silver are just purely better video games than their
rival.
predecessors. Yes, Red and Blue came first, but it feels a bit strange to give the title to a game that, while iconic, simply isn't as good as... I think
Wait, why is this kind of
I
creepy?
think we'll go with this one. That should be right. Yeah,
What?
yeah, that should be right. All of the games we've covered have been 2D, but I think it's about time we move on to the third dimension. Contrary to popular belief, there were actually plenty of 3D games back in the 90s. As is often the case, the games that get labeled the first, or the ones that revolutionized the medium, aren't really the first ones to do it. It would instead be more accurate to call them the first ones to do it well and at a scale that hadn't been seen before. At the time, I'm not sure there was a single game that accomplished the goal of a 3D adventure better than the next entry on our list. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. This is a game that
These
often
are
tops
all
the greatest games of all
Nintendo
time
games.
lists, and justifiably so. What impresses me most about
I guess
Ocarina
that
of
makes-
Time
I guess-
is the
I
innovation
guess
on display
Nintendo is
here.
just
It popularized Z-targeting,
like
a
throwing
camera
out
system that we still
bangers
use
after
today.
banger.
It's
What the
really hard
heck?
to appreciate just how incredible that is. I mean, try to think about the countless
I've never
tools,
played any
techniques, and
Nintendo games.
technological
Am I
advances this
chud?
medium has
What
made
the
in the
frick?
27 years since this game's release.
I only had an
Despite all
Xbox,
of those
guys.
advancements, we still don't really have a better camera solution for third-person 3D games than this one from nearly 3 decades ago. This one game laid the groundwork for cameras that would be used in everything from Dark Souls to Bayonetta to Dynasty Warriors to basically any third-person 3D action game you can
If you're
think
Chud,
of.
I'm also
That level
Chud.
of influence is exceedingly rare, but the level of quality in this
Nintendo
game is
just makes good
arguably
games.
even more impressive. The game is basically the quintessential hero's journey. It takes this weird outcast kid who acts like a bit of a blank slate, much like Mario from the 80s, sends him into a tree, and then gives him a prophecy to save the world. He's then told to leave the forest he's called home for his whole life, and after spending about an hour or two in this maze of tightly packed trees and claustrophobic caves, you finally make your way out and are met with this.
Whoa. Whoa, what a beautiful field.
I cannot begin to imagine how this must have felt at the time. I'm sure you remember your first moment like this from a video game.
Sorry,
If
I'm
you're around
dogging
my
on it.
age, maybe it was Skyrim. You exited that cave
Whoa,
at the
what the
start of the game, adrenaline finally leaving your system after the dragon attack, and in front of you lay a scene straight out of a painting. Endless peaks dotting the horizon, along with the knowledge that each of those distant locales that you could barely make out may hide an adventure exactly like the one that you just escaped. It was nothing short of breathtaking, awe-inspiring, even overwhelming. Maybe it should have been Skyrim. Yet, I can't help but wonder what it must have been like for those players back in the 90s. Players who had grown so accustomed to games
Sadly,
that
the
looked like
developers
this,
are whack.
this,
Yeah.
or this. Players who had merely seen flashes of what a 3D world could look like. At a time where worlds like these were practically non-existent, Ocarina of Time might have been the very best. More than anything, it's that contrast, that difference between what was then and what is now, that makes Ocarina of Time a true masterpiece. When I think of the word
What the
revolutionary in reference
What is this? What people talking about? Like the dementia simulator in the comments? What the heck? Why is this guy's going crazy a little bit?
To video games, no game comes to mind faster than Final Fantasy VII. At the
Oh my
time, it was
God.
the most expensive game ever made, costing an estimated $45 million to develop and another $100 million for marketing. That number wasn't just for show either. Final Fantasy VII completely redefined the JRPG genre, and is a large reason why it's as popular as it is today, especially in the West. The brilliant use of both 3D models and pre-rendered backgrounds to display these larger-than-life vistas made Alfgar a world that felt more grandiose and extraordinary than anything anyone had ever seen before. Final Fantasy VII showed the industry that with the right technology, games didn't have to be mere pixels on the screen. They could look and feel like movies or larger, more cinematic productions. Simply compare this to the Mario games from barely over a decade prior, and you can really start to get a sense of the scale here. To put this gap into perspective, if you were born in 1980, you could have played Super Mario Bros. In elementary school, and this in college. It wasn't merely reinventing the medium as a whole though. On a smaller level, it was totally changing JRPGs, and of course, its own series. It was the first fully 3D Final Fantasy game with these unbelievable animations and cutscenes, both of which it utilized to their fullest potential to tell one of the most iconic stories in gaming, one that still feels relevant even today. While games like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI effectively mastered the genre and what it could offer with the technology available back then, Final Fantasy VII acted as that next major step, a generational leap that gave us a window into what the future could look like for this medium. Perhaps directly because of all of this, Final Fantasy VII and the characters from it remain the most recognizable in the series by far. Cloud is effectively the poster boy of Final Fantasy, even going as far as representing it in Smash Bros. And when they thought to add another Final Fantasy character to that series, did they add the main character of 10? Final Fantasy VI? Maybe 1?
They added Sephiroth.
They added Sephiroth, a second Final Fantasy VII character. Despite being created nearly 2 decades ago, these remain the most iconic characters in the series, and it's all because of Final Fantasy VII's success. This game is the very definition of impact and legacy, and for that reason, we'll consider it our 4th true masterpiece.
I feel like we're missing one.
No, that's not right either. Okay, let's try this. All 3 of the games we've covered so far have prioritized impact and influence over practically anything else. So for number 4 on our list, I wanted to take a look at a game that acts like the pinnacle of the genre, a game that stands at the absolute peak of quality.
Celeste?
Granted, I'm not saying this game is perfect, but as of today, it might be the best open world game of all time.
Okay, not Celeste. Elden Ring?
I don't know if anyone else gets
Was
this
Elden
feeling,
Ring
but
that
sometimes, rarely, I'll be playing a game and almost start excitedly laughing like a child. That excitement comes from the conflict actively occurring in my head as I play the game. One half of me, the pragmatic half, is going, listen, we know how good games are able to be, and we know they almost all stumble at some point. Those 1 in a million games do exist, but statistically speaking, this probably isn't one of them, so just enjoy it for what it is and keep your expectations in check. While the other half is going, okay, yeah, no, you're right. I mean, Limgrave is probably just 40 to 50% of the map, and holy shit. It's this feeling of there's no possible way the game can keep doing this. It doesn't make sense. How does a game have an open world this big while still keeping it as dense as it is, with massive dungeons, some of which you don't even have to complete to beat the game, and combat that's also some of the best in the industry? That's not supposed to be possible, yet somehow they did manage to pull it off.
Okay, I have Elden Ring. I could play Elden Ring.
Is almost like a culmination of everything we've learned about open worlds since Zelda 1. Elden Ring director Hideteki Miyazaki said in an interview that he learned from Breath of the Wild, Skyrim, Oblivion, and Witcher 3. They studied everything that made these games great, scrutinized and addressed their shortcomings, and did what every great game has done over the past 50 years. Evolved the medium and pushed it forward. Much like many of the greats before it, Elden Ring likely won't be the greatest open world game of all time forever. I mean, Miyazaki himself said that Elden Ring isn't his ideal fantasy RPG. It's close, but he knows they can do better, and I'm sure in time, the team at FromSoft will. When they do though, what does that mean for Elden Ring? What does it mean for Breath of the Wild, Skyrim, Oblivion, Ocarina of Time? What does it mean for any game that has since been improved upon and evolved? Imagine a world in which Miyazaki does create his ideal fantasy RPG. Let's say it's another open world like Elden Ring. Is Elden Ring no longer one of the 7 true masterpieces? By that logic, should Mario 1 be on this list when Mario World exists? I'm honestly not sure.
That's what I was thinking of. I was like, I feel like the masterpieces are gonna be replaced someday.
Can I ask you a seemingly straightforward question that has no real answer?
Like,
when humanity is long gone and aliens stumble across our planet, they'll likely categorize all of our trinkets, odds and ends, those sorts of things. But when they reach the video game section, what do you think they'll consider more important? The very first game humanity made, or the very last? This question is almost a bit of a paradox. If you ask me, I'd say the last game is infinitely more important, especially if it was the last truly great game and not just some shovelware that an AI threw out at the last second before shutting down. A game like that would be able to say so much through its sheer existence alone. Every choice it makes would be a statement on what we valued at the very end. What kind of mark we wanted to leave behind, what we wanted the future to know about us, who we were. The last game undeniably says far more about the medium and our civilization as a whole, yet the first game is the very reason the last game is even able to exist. Sure, Pong isn't some grand philosophical statement about a species in their final moments, but it is the starting point, the necessary first domino that had to fall. To be honest with you, this paradox drove me crazy when trying to put together this list. Balancing legacy and quality feels next to impossible. I'd go to bed one night with my completed list of 7, wake up the next day, look at it and go, yeah, no, at least half of this is wrong, we have to go back to the drawing board. Then I'd try again, and again, and again, and finally I'd get a finished script. Yet almost the very instant I hit enter on that last line of the 7th entry, it all felt wrong. I think I finally understand why though, along with how to finally get it right. See, there are 2 reasons. First off, the simple reason is the sheer complexity of the task. This list has a mere 7 entries, but I'm fully confident that if we gathered up 500 people and asked them all to list their 7 and throw them in a hat, we'd have well over 100 different games. For each Tetris or World of Warcraft, we'd have a Link to the Past or Halo 2. Then there are the chronological issues. If Mario 1 came out today, it would objectively be less impressive than it was in 1983, because back then, there were only a handful of 2D platformers, and the technology used to create them pales in comparison to the computers of the modern day. Even if, somehow, we could magically compress the entire timeline and make it so every single candidate for this list had the exact same release date, we'd still have dozens of potential contenders. Equally, it doesn't seem particularly reasonable to judge a game independent of the context of its release, especially when works of art are a direct result of the world around them. This isn't even taking into account subjectivity either. I sincerely believe there are at least 50 different games that you could make a pretty strong argument for here on a purely objective basis. Measurable things like the first game to implement a revolutionary idea or the most popular game of all time by player count. When you consider the inherent subjectivity of the medium though, this goes from profoundly difficult to completely impossible. There does exist a list that I could throw on screen right now that you would look at and go, yeah, that's correct, those are the 7 most important games ever made.
Yeah, I was like, it's all Nintendo, guys.
Or family member or whoever's closest to you, show them the screen and watch as they go, are you out of your mind? That is obviously wrong. All of this
guys,
is the
Call of
first
Duty
half
is my
of why this
masterpiece,
question
guys.
has stumped me as much as it has. But the second half, funny enough, is what finally allowed me to complete the list. The term masterpiece isn't a measurement. Try to think back to the last time you called a game a masterpiece. Do you remember exactly why you did it? For me, it was Shadow of the Colossus. As I watched the final sequence of the game play out and I stood in awe as the credits scrolled across the screen, I couldn't help but think, that was it. That was a masterpiece. I didn't think that because the game reached some arbitrary level where it suddenly crossed some invisible line from great game to masterpiece. It wasn't like a kilometer where it goes from 998 meters to 1002 and we suddenly go, yup, that's it, it passed the threshold. No, it's more like an exclamation point. Like the last dunk in a basketball game that's already over, or the final song at a wedding just before everyone goes home. In a wonderful video from the channel The Art Assignment, the creator Sarah Urist Green says in regards to masterpieces, we're talking about what we want the future to know about the present. And I think that's exactly it. That's the key. When you call something a masterpiece, it's almost like you're saying, this is how I want to remember it. This deserves to be remembered. This idea is what convinced me that I needed not 1 list, but 2. I know I promised I'd give you a list of 7 games, and don't worry, I still will. However, and this may come as a shock to you, I actually haven't played every single video game ever made. Because of this fact, I wanted to make 1 list of the games that I feel, based on both my research and my initial criteria, are as close to objective as I can get. These are the 7 games that I think are the most important for the history of the medium, the 7 true masterpieces. Yet I also wanted to make my own personal list. A list of games that I thought deserved that exclamation point, that defining label, games I thought deserved to be remembered. I'll throw this second list on screen at the end and make a full video about it on Patreon. With that in mind, let's finally take a look at the 7 true masterpieces.
Okay guys,
list
make sure
1
to
in
dog on it.
chronological order is as follows. Tetris. As previously stated, it's about as close to a pure masterpiece as you can get, so I'm pretty confident placing it here. Super Mario
I don't hate
Bros.
it.
Again, same reasons as before, I won't spend too much time on it. Third will be Doom 1993. Not only is it one of the first 3D games ever made, but it also revolutionized FPSs and shooters in general, a genre that would go on to become one of the most popular and arguably arguably most profitable on the planet, although that profit thing does depend on mostly semantic factors that I don't think you want to hear about. Our fourth game is going to be Pokemon Red and Blue. The impact these games had on the industry, and more importantly, outside of it, is simply too great for me to place anything else in this spot. Number 5 is Ocarina of Time. It was both the pioneer of 3D cameras in action games with the Z-targeting system, a system that's still used in most third-person 3D action games today, and the blueprint for decades of future third-person 3D action games. Games from Okami to Dark Souls to even Elden Ring were all either directly or indirectly inspired by Ocarina of Time. At number 6, I'd place the aforementioned World of Warcraft for being the game that brought MMOs into the mainstream. A lot of the biggest games on the planet today are MMOs. Think things like Final Fantasy XIV or Elder Scrolls Online. On top of this, its cultural impact is up there with things like
I don't know
Pokemon
anything about World of Warcraft. Dude, maybe I live under a freaking rock of video games.
Minecraft, the highest-selling video game of all time. A
you
game
didn't
that,
talk about
much
Minecraft
like
at all.
Pokemon Red and Blue and World of Warcraft before it, dramatically impacted the world outside of the game, and a game that's seen continued dominance for over a decade now, with no signs of slowing down anytime soon. And that's as close as I can get to an objective list of 7. It's not perfect, and even I have some problems with it. Among other things, I feel it prioritizes influence a bit too much, leading to a total lack of more modern games like Elden Ring or most of the best indies that simply haven't had enough time to generate the kind of legacy or influence that older games like Doom or Ocarina of Time have. That said, if the aliens showed up tomorrow and asked for a list, this is the one I'm giving them. So with that impossible task finally completed, and with everything we've gone over in mind, allow me to ask you one final question. A true masterpiece is a game that you believe deserves to be remembered. So if someone told you they believed a game was a true masterpiece, then regardless of the game's quality, its impact, its legacy, and any other metrics you could use to define it, would they be wrong to do so? And if not, what games do you believe deserve to be remembered?
Oh, that was a really cute video. This is the safest video ever. Well, okay. I think he was trying to be very like objective at the end. He has like his own personal list. I think in like the realms of like a different perspective, it could be like he did talk a lot about influence, but he could talk about like, oh yeah, this genre of video games brought in like a bunch of casual players into accepting video games as part of like the mainstream take, you know? Like I think the game that brings in a lot of more casual players has to be like the multiplayer games like Valo, Fortnite, like PUBG or something like that. But it could also be like casual fans like farming simulators like Stardew Valley. He could have added that in as like a point of reference, because all these games are very well, first of all, 3 of them are Nintendo games. One is Minecraft. One is WoW. I don't know anything about WoW, guys. Look.
Things like Pokemon and our final end.
Okay, so it's Doom. I guess, you know, I guess Doom is like the bad apple of like the world, you know. There is always like, oh, but can Doom play on it? Ew, League? Okay, let's not talk about League, guys. That's cringe. That's cringe, disgusting. But I mean, I don't think his list is bad. I guess it means I should start playing like Pokemon and Nintendo games. There's a reason why they call Mario Mr. Video Game himself. Is that what they say? Is that what they call him? Like, where? Like, who says that? Oh, I mean, yes! I believe you! Wow! That's amazing! Wow! Oh, this is true. This is true. I always call him Jumpman. Okay, now you're just saying things. That's not even true. That's not even true, guys. They call Sonic the CEO of sex. Okay. Okay, Banher the plumber. What? But I mean, yeah, it's a good video. I was mentally preparing myself for something more like dementia-inducing at the end. Because the comments, can I read the comments? Hold on. Okay, the comments are just like, what the fuck? I thought I was watching a gaming video, but I ended in a dementia simulator. This video made me feel like I'm developing Alzheimer's and schizophrenia. The lowest possible number is 7. What? Adderall's being mentioned. This is why you weren't invited to the Halo 3 custom games lobby. No joke, a guy ad. Like, people were overhyping this shit. Like, it was not that crazy, guys. It was not that crazy. They're so funny. They're so funny. The comments are always better than the video itself. I wouldn't call Pokemon a Nintendo game, but it is in Nintendo platforms, I guess. Is Pokemon not a Nintendo game? Is it not backed and being created by Nintendo? It is. It is, bro. Bro's coming in is like, actually. Actually. But yeah, I mean, I guess I don't disagree with his list. I guess I've just been, I guess my childhood playing games is just me getting whatever free games, whatever indie games was available. The only games I had, low-key, back in the Yo days was like Just Dance, Super Street Fighter, and Call of Duty. Yeah, that's the 3 games I had on my Xbox. I think I'll leave that there. I think it's an overall good video. Thank you guys. Thank you.